After a decent race performance at the half marathon, it's time to revisit my goals. Are they right? Do I need to change them? So these were the goals that I set out for myself a couple of weeks ago, with the C goal being 255, the B 252 and the A 250. Now I did say at the time that they weren't set in stone and I might want to change them. In terms of those goals as well, they are what I'm going for at the moment, but they aren't necessarily set in stone. They could go up, they could go down. Since the video was made, I've run a personal best at the half marathon distance, and we're going to see what that time means, both in the context of my training and for the race. So I'm quite happy with the way I executed that race. I think I did a really good job of managing the effort. There was a bit of a headwind from about kilometre 3-ish to about kilometre 9. So I did manage my effort. So you can see there where the pace dropped a little bit. And then once you came out of the wind and had a little bit of a wind to our backs coming back, it was a lot better. And then I was able to pick up the pace. So it was a relatively even effort. My heart rate looks really good here. Now I try to, in the first half of the race, not get it above 64, 65 beats per minute, just because that's where I feel comfortable at half marathon pace, or where I have done in the past anyway. So I managed to do that, again, slowing the pace down a little bit when I needed to, and then enabling myself to really push in the second half. We can see from the zones here that I kept it mostly in zone 4 to the top end of threshold, which is really good. I did go into zone 5 for a bit as well. Now that's really good because I could have well run a little bit more in zone 5, so it shows us a little bit more out of myself, because at no point until right at the end when I was running up the last hill was I really pushing really hard. I was just kind of cruising along, still trying and at top of my level, but I think I could have dragged a little bit more out of myself. There was no massive heavy breathing, so I think there is a little bit I can extract a bit more out of that. Overall, this race has given me a really good idea of where my current level of fitness is this deep into marathon training, so it gives me a chance to reassess my goals at this point. So if we have a look back at the Garmin and Strava predictions, we can see they're both are quite a way off. The Garmin one is much closer, but again, it's still leaving a lot on the table. Now, what this does tell me is not to take too much stock in those. Basically, what you want to be doing is when you're training, hopefully if they're going down, that's great, but also it's not going to be 100% accurate, so don't worry about it too much. If I'd really listened to those, then I would have been worried looking down at my watch thinking, oh my God, I'm going too quickly. But ultimately that didn't matter because I was just managing effort. So if you can get your effort right, ignore what your watch is saying, just you're the one doing the run, not the watch. Having said that, I'm going to have a look at what it says after the run, just so we can see whether it's any more accurate, whether it's brought it down at all, considering I've just run a faster time. Now these are looking a bit more accurate now. The Strava has gone a little bit closer, but still quite pessimistic, and the Garmin has gone a little bit quicker than what I did. Now that probably makes a little bit of sense based on the weather and conditions in some of the trail sections of the half marathon. So I actually think that's probably not a million miles away, but that's because I've got an actual race to go off. So I'm more confident that, yeah, I could potentially do that. Not having a race makes things really hard for you to look at what your pace actually should be. That's why I'd say go on effort, not pace. It's interesting to see the marathon predictions on here as well. So the Garmin's got me at a 2:46:30 if I was to run one tomorrow, being nice and fit and tapered and everything. And the Strava's got me at 2:50:47. Now, I'm not going to take too much stock into these because, as we've seen, these can be way off. But it's just interesting to see what these particular platforms think. Now, I've said think there. I think I'm going to change that to calculate. This is AI. They're not thinking. It's just calculation based on the data it's got. So what does this all mean, though? How am I going to change my plans based on the half marathon performance? So if I first of all go back to our AI overlords, we can see that it's got a realistic goal of 2:43 to 2:46, an aggressive goal at sub 2:40. Now the sub 2:40 can get right in the bin. I think that is way too optimistic with my current level of training. But the realistic goal of 2:43 to 2:46, I think, as an A goal, saying a sub 2:45, that might be what I'm looking at. So I've put my half marathon time into the VDOT calculator, and it's come back to the equivalent time of the marathon being around a 2:42. Now, again, I'm not going to just say that's what I'm going to go for because the computer says it, but it does give me an idea that maybe the targets that I had previously might be a little bit slow based on this information of a lot of runners that have run similar times. Now, it doesn't mean I will definitely do that, but it does mean that maybe I can rethink my goals. So based on the half marathon race and the data that we collected, I think it's definitely right to just throw away those last goals that I went for and create some new ones. So I had a bit of trouble setting these goals because initially I had my C goal as running a 2:55, which is a personal best, and you're told you've got to be happy with a personal best, or you should be happy with that. But in all honesty, with me, because of the level of fitness I've got at the moment and how my training's been going, unless there is some inclement weather, some bad weather, or I have an injury or that kind of thing, I feel like I really wouldn't be that happy with just running a small personal best. So what I've done is I've added a D goal of 2:55 just to have it in there because yes, that is an achievement, but at the same time, I really want to be looking a bit higher. So then if we go down to the C goal, that will be the what I perceive is around a safety for a London qualification for next year for the good for age category. Then the B, I'm going for a 2:48. Now I'll skip past the 2:50 because I think from the half marathon, what it's taught me is that getting caught up on these round numbers of 3 hours or the 2:50 or 2:40, whatever it is, I don't think it's that helpful. It's more just look at where you actually are and what you can actually run, and don't worry about the big round numbers necessarily so much. Okay, and then obviously the A goal is a little bit more aggressive, which is a 2:45, which I'd be over the moon with. So anything under 2:45 would be great. I did do a little bit of training last week, looking at running at around the 3:55 pace for marathon, and my heart rate was in roughly the right zone. Now this was only, I didn't do a big long session or anything, so it'll be interesting to see whether I can hold that come the day. But that's something that I think is within my power to achieve. So there we have it then. Quite excited to update those goals and going in the right direction. I will give you an absolute final answer in about 3 weeks' time, so when I start the taper. But for now, I think those are really good things to be aiming for, and hopefully my training goes well. I'll see you next time.